to Enlightenment of Change on webtalkradio.com. I'm your host, Connie Whitman. And my guests and I are excited that you're joining us this week. So here's the deal, right? We hear that word change and our stomach goes into knots, right? We do the flip flop and we think, humada, what do I do now? So to help you navigate change, because here's the reality of it. In my 4 decades working and in business, communication is at the core of us navigating change in a little bit more ease and grace. So in the show notes, you'll see my communication style assessment, my gift to you. You will get 2 reports. First report will spotlight just your natural communication superpowers, how your message just typically lands without you thinking about it. Flip side, your lowest score is when you're communicating with people 180 degrees different than you. That's the report I really want you to kind of dig into and do a deeper dive, because that's the blind spot that you might have to address. As we get better at communicating, all of a sudden change becomes a little bit easier to facilitate. So my gift to you, and that link is in the show notes. Now, to set the stage for my guests and my conversation today, I chose a quote by Dharmesh Shah. And Dharmesh says, "Many companies have forgotten they sell to actual people. Humans care about the entire experience, not just the marketing, sales, or service. To really win in the modern age, you must solve for humans." And I just love that quote. And I really enjoy having marketing experts on my show because, I know people think they're the same. Sales and marketing are 2 very different animals. Yes, they're married. Yes, they meet each other, but they're still very different skills. And since I'm not an expert in marketing, right, or marketing strategies, I always learn a tip or 2 when I have guests on for this specific topic. Now, lead generation, as a business owner, and really for being in sales for 4 decades, I know it's critical for keeping our pipelines full so that we could continue to connect through follow-up and help our ideal clients using an effective sales process. Leads come in, and if our sales process aligns with our marketing message, sales come out the other end. So who is my amazing guest today that we're going to have this very cool topic on? Well, her name is Amy Kuphal. Amy is a lead generation and email marketing specialist and the founder of the Inbox Entrepreneur. This monthly membership helps online business owners grow their audience, generate more leads to make more sales. It's very simple and a sustainable way to run your business. Amy is a fierce advocate for anti-hustle entrepreneurship and is on a mission to help business owners create businesses that both look and feel good. So Amy, thank you so much for coming on. And you had me at anti-hustle because we certainly work way too hard and not smart enough. So I love having guests like you on so that we can provide some, again, right, shine lights on our blind spots.
Thank you so much for having me. I am such a super fan of you. I am a super fan of your show. I actually was binging an episode before we even jumped on this call. And every time I listen, there's so many valuable takeaways that I can implement in my own business. So thank you, 1, for having me on your show, and 2, for producing the quality of the show that you do. I appreciate that.
Thank you so much. And here, mutual podcasts. See, we understand each other because the podcasting world, it's noisy. Number 1. Number 2, I do the video and the audio because people have different ways of learning and processing information, right? So we make an effort to produce good quality and to have good guests on because, like I said in the beginning, you and I were excited to share. That's what we're here for. That's why we do what we do. And we're here to help. And I'm glad you feel the same way. So that just makes me very happy that we are kindred spirits with this for sure.
100% in that, and that we're both East Coast United States. We talked about
totally.
I think kindred spirits 100% on multiple levels.
Yeah. So before we started, Amy said, "God, you're East Coast too." I said, "Jersey girl." She said, "Massachusetts girl." I said, "I love you." So yeah, the East Coast, we have our own vibe for sure. So my first question, Amy, you help online entrepreneurs, make lead generation and email marketing so much simpler than I think it appears to be as well. Can you share how did you get into this in the first place, right? Because it's a noisy marketplace.
It is a noisy marketplace. And I think how I got into this is just to share the quick backstory and really to shine light on the fact that so many entrepreneurs, we think that we have to get into this entrepreneurial journey and be one thing and then be that thing for the next 30 years. That's not my story. I started out growing my business, not in the online space. I was in the in-person space in the fitness and nutrition industry. So 2011, I was a personal trainer, I was a nutrition counselor, and I was able to grow my business pretty quickly to what the outside looking in, at least in my area, at least in the people that I surrounded myself with, looked like a very successful business, right? So I was fully booked. I had that just touching the bottom bit of the $100,000 a year coaching business. I will tell you, outside looking in, it looked good. Inside, it was a hot mess. I was working so many hours. I was taking clients first thing in the morning. I'd have these weird gaps in the afternoon. I was teaching, coaching late at night. I was exhausted. I had so many one-to-one appointments. I had, all of us know running a business, there's more than just the client-facing stuff. There's the marketing, there's all of this. And I grew it to the point that it was as much as I could have grown it without, I think, falling into a puddle on the floor. And knowing that I was just barely hitting that $100,000 mark, looking around at people in my circle that have hit 300, 400, 500,000 a year and going, how the heck did they do that? Because I can tell you that they're not working 3, 4, 5 times more than me. It's literally not possible. There aren't enough hours in the day. I know I'm a hard worker, so I know that they're not working harder than me. So it was at that point, and also through a brief interaction with my daughter, which maybe we can get into, maybe not, but that were kind of those pivotal points that let me know I need to shift how I'm running my business, pulling it from in-person one-to-one to online first, and then from online to a more scalable model, which is what I do now.
It's interesting, as you were speaking, I did everything live prior to COVID, and then COVID hit and my world stopped. I had been in business 19 years, and all of a sudden I had no income coming in. I had earned income since I was 13 years old. Talk about an ego, dump. And not that I had done anything wrong, but you're lost. I didn't know what to do, right? So pivoted, shifted, went online, which was so interesting because that was like learning a whole new language, by the way, and my own skill development. So it's funny, I was working 12-hour days, 7 days a week with no income coming in because I knew you got to get up to snuff, sister, or you're going to fail. The business is going to close. So that's number one. Number two, the other thing you said that I think is so impactful is that we run and work hard because, right, we're a business owner. It's for me. So of course we're going to double down and work our butts off. Now, my clients that everything was live, Amy, it's interesting. I just finished a class and they were always live. And now we did digital for the first time. And the employees, I asked for feedback and some of them said, oh, we love live. And I said to her later, I know why they love live. It's a different energy. I get it. Here's the problem, though. It's a check off the box. I was trained. When you do it over an 8-week period, right? Once a week where they get coached by me, videos, like probably similar to you, videos, homework, then they come and then I coach the group, right? For the 8 weeks, the learning is exponentially more impactful and they're able to duplicate it in front of the client. So my client, who again loves the live, she had gone through all my live training, 15 years ago. She said the digital, I can't believe the level of learning. So I'm not saying that it's an all or nothing. Hybrid sometimes works depending on the topic, but the online world helps us as business owners because we can do more in less time, but we really can support the client at a deeper level than just you're done for the day, see ya, where they have resources and we can build infrastructures to help them build an infrastructure in their life business, whoever it is that we're coaching. So very interesting how, and I like how you said, 30 years ago, not doing what I'm doing now. It's 5 years ago, we weren't doing what we're doing now. It's just really fascinating, but we have to be able to shift, pivot, and be open to learning and changing. And that's what you did. That's what I did. And I think really to be a successful entrepreneur, you have to be fluid with whatever's happening in the marketplace, in our own world, with our kids, whatever it might be. So I agree with everything you've said so far. Yeah. Did you want to add anything before I ask another question?
Yeah, what I would want to add to that too is that one of the things that I struggled with that I no longer struggle with, but I think a lot of people can potentially resonate with is kind of what we both talked about, is that I pivoted, you've pivoted in your career, and it's being able to pivot and get the comments from people that are not in the business space and the people that are in your close circle, your parents, your siblings saying, well, wait a minute, Amy, you were teaching push-ups in 2011, but now you're teaching business. Like people that have hit their career and done that same career for 35 years and not had this entrepreneurial pivot, how to still be okay with what you're doing in the face of people that maybe mean well, but that are going to put comments in like that. And for me, it was always, yes, I've been in the fitness and nutrition space, but since 2011, when I was teaching push-ups, I was also a business owner. So as much as they're seeing you're a personal trainer, there was never a point that I was employed by someone else. I was always my own business owner, but then moving into more of that, starting a good handful of years ago, and being okay with having the meandering path for all of us and understanding it's just part of the process.
It's so interesting you said that because, family and friends, when COVID hit and I said, I have to create a whole another business. I mean, it's like starting from scratch. Obviously, I had a lot of content and I knew what I was doing, right? I'm an expert on my topic, but I didn't know this digital stuff. And many of my friends, peers, right? Because we're older. Well, I'm older. You're young, but I'm older. And they would say to me, well, why are you doing that? And my response was, why not? Like, I want to do this. I'm excited to learn. And I can't wait to share this with my existing clients to get new. Like I had a jump in my step that I felt like I was reborn because I was learning so much, right? And it made me fire again. Like I had fire in my belly. And then I laughed later on because I thought about, why did they ask me that? Because they're projecting their own stuff. What should I be doing? Why are you doing that? And but it's their own reflection on us. So it's just interesting that you said that because I faced that multiple times. People are like, you're crazy. Am I? Well, okay. I'm in crazy world by myself then. I don't know what to tell you, but it's them projecting on us. And it's hard as business owners because we do have to change and be fluid, that people think we're crazy sometimes. I'm okay with that.
Me too. Glad we're on the same page. Absolutely.
Crazy was good, right?
Yeah.
Now I want to jump in. Let's talk about the framework that simplify, because I'm always willing to learn too, Abe, because the lead gen, I'm good at the sale, but the lead gen, I'm like, wait, what should I be doing? So how can we simplify that whole lead gen email marketing? And like, what's your framework? Because I know you have a special kind of pyramid, I think, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, I do. So the framework that I created originally for myself, honestly, and then started teaching to my customers and clients, it's called the lead generation pyramid. And the backstory of why this had to come into existence is because I had, like I said, I was working, at this point, I was in the business coaching space, but still hustling my butt off, working 50+ hour weeks and going, there's no way I can continue this for a number of years. And there's no way that I can scale this. So for me, it was this internal feeling that I was feeling, but the pivotal moment came when my own daughter, at this point, she was 9 years old, came up to me and said, Mom, can we play? And I said, great, neck deep in work. I've got client plans that I'm writing. I'm doing all this stuff. Can we play? And it was a Monday afternoon. And I said, can we play Legos? Yes, baby. I'm like, we can't. I'm so swamped right now. Let me pull up my calendar and see when I have some free time. Ugh, I know. I wish everyone could see the visual of Connie right now. Yeah, eyes open. So came up to me Monday afternoon at 3 and said, Mom, can you play Legos with me? My heart sank because as a mom, that's my number one priority. That's the reason why I'm building this business, right? But I always thought that I just had to keep hustling in order to get to a place where suddenly my schedule would become easier. I thought that there was going to be this magical final step that I would take, and then I have this time freedom, this location freedom that appears. Turns out I was starting to get the own internal feeling of, I might not be as close as I think, because every time I turn that corner to what I think will be that freedom space, there's another list of questions. There's another list of problems to be solved. There's another list of things that are filling up my 50+ hour weeks. Mm-hmm. So she had come over to me Monday afternoon and said, Mom, can we play? I, without thinking about it, pulled up my Google Calendar and said, let me see. Next open spot. This was built like a Tetris game, my disgusting Google Calendar at that point. The next open spot that I had for 30 minutes to play with her wasn't until Thursday afternoon. So I looked at my daughter again without processing this whole thing. Sorry, baby, I'm like super slammed right now. Why don't we play Legos Thursday at 3? She said, okay, Mom. And she proceeded to walk away. And in seeing her walk away and realizing that I had I still tear up. This was 3 years ago. Still tear up. And seeing her walk away and knowing that I had just told my child that I didn't have time to play with her for 3 more days, that all of those things that I had already known were not feeling so right. That was that moment for me that I said, this is it. I don't care if we're living under a bridge. We are not continuing this way a second longer. And it was in that exploration process that I ended up developing what I now call the lead generation pyramid. Because I said, let me take an inventory of all of the things that I'm doing in my business. Let me figure out what I don't have to do. What are the individual essentials that I need to create sales in my business? And let me strip my entire business down to just those essentials, really to save myself, right? And then once I found it working, that's when I started teaching it to others. And basically, to dive into the pyramid, if we want to picture, a triangle, a pyramid, that base is going to be your audience. So that's just thinking about how can we most simply get eyes and ears on us and eyes and ears on our offer. Okay, that's it. That's the one job of that base. Get eyes and ears on us in relation to our offer. From there, we want to move them up to that second level. How can we get them to be leads? So we have audience member as the base. Leads are going to be level 2. Definition of leads by my term is on your email list. There is no one else I'm calling a lead for anybody unless they are on your email list. So how do we quickly get them there? From there, once they're on our email list, how do we move them up to level 3, which is aligned prospects? So those are the people that align with us in terms of our values, in terms of our vibe, in terms of they need the offer that we're selling and that they can afford the offer that we're selling. Okay, so the values and vibes, they can afford us and they need us. There are aligned prospects. From there, we want to move those aligned prospects to the top of the pyramid, and that's going to be client and customer.
I love it. And it's so funny because I just recently used this example and what you said there aligns client or prospect because they have the money too, right? So I said, in sales, we talk about benefits. And I said, so you're excited because you're selling, a Mercedes-Benz or Lamborghini, whatever it is. And you're going through and you have this great deal running where it's $50,000 off. All of that is so true and so great. I'm in the market for a Honda Civic at the 25,000 price point. So all of the benefits you're sharing with me, they sound fabulous. Not my market. I am not the ideal client. And then I hear from people, but I get objections. You aren't talking to your ideal client. Of course you're getting objections. Really, really, if you're in front of your client and it is a good match and you're good at what you do, meaning you can articulate properly how you can support, serve, or whatever that client is, they're going to say yes. If you get a no, there's something wrong with the original step 1 in your sales process. You missed something, and that's why you're getting an objection. So I love how you just added that they have the money, because we come from entrepreneur business owners or even salespeople, Aim. I want to make every sale. You can't make statistically, 100% is never going to happen. And statistically, if you get all knows, you're doing something wrong, right? So statistically, we should never be a full on 0 or full on 100%. But you should be that 80% close ratio if everything else is in alignment. So I love that you added that. And I love the pyramid. I'm a visual. So I love how you kind of 3 easy steps, peeps, 3 easy steps. We make things much too much complicated.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And it's right. It's getting those aligned prospects. Because the thing is, we could force our way into making sales. But if I'm getting someone into my program that values are not aligned, that they feel like it's way too much of a stretch outside their budget, but they felt that they, had this huge urgency, they had to buy, whatever it is, they're going to be the people that are complaining about you later. They're going to be the people that are asking for refunds. They're going to be the people that are going to be taking your time and energy in a way that does not feel fun. So I would rather have them sort themselves out through solid email marketing strategy so that they don't opt in, and then we have to deal with the repercussions later.
Yeah, again, you can't be everything to everybody. It's funny. My last step is, asking for the business. And this is where, to me, 3 things happen. Well, the second to last step. The last step is follow-up. But the second to last step, 3 things can happen. First, the client is like, oh, how fast can we do this? They're leaning in. It's a perfect match. You feel it. They feel it. There's just excitement. Money isn't an issue. Let's do this. Give me the link. Let me pay. Second one is I say to the client, I know I'm a fit. I understand that. You're not ready for me. And people go, no, I need to hire you. I go, you do. I understand that. You have your marketing, you have your website, you have this going on, you have that going on. I'm telling you, 2 weeks in, you're going to be, Connie, I can't do this. I want a refund. Even though the program is good, you're going to be frustrated. You're going to be overwhelmed. You're not going to be delivering the homework so that I could support you. It's going to be a disaster. So let's not do that. Let's wait 3 months for whatever we agree upon, but you're not ready for me yet. And it cracks me up to you. No. I go, trust me. You're not ready for me. And then when they do a month, 2 months, 3 months, whatever the time frame is that we agree upon, they say, you were so right. And it works out to be better. And they end up hitting a home run because they're there emotionally, physically, mentally to do what they need to do, right? In this case, my program. And then the third thing I say is, Amy, I'm not the right person for you. You really need to meet my friend Joe. He's the one who can help you. And this is the most interesting one. When I refer them to someone else, because I know I could do it. I'm not the expert you want. I have colleagues that are just vetted and they're so much better on this topic. What ends up happening, they don't end up working with me, but they end up giving me referrals because I'm honest, I'm in integrity, right? I really care. I want to make a difference. So sometimes that's introducing someone else. They're the only three things that should happen. Notice I didn't say handling objections because you shouldn't get objections. Otherwise you did something wrong, right?
Yeah, I agree. And I always preach the same thing. It's like, if your sales call or however that final sales part of your process is, that's not where we're handling objections. The objections should have been handled in the whole marketing and messaging along the way. Right. The sales call, like you said, is just making that final yes, no, or later.
Yes. And customizing. So that's another thing too. Mm-hmm. People come in, they saw something through my marketing, but then when I talk to them, right, if I'm doing a good job, I call it what's in my pantry. I know all my assets. I know everything I can do. So when I'm with that client and they say, oh, I saw this, and I go, you know what? This is cheaper for you. You already have this level of experience. I can piecemeal this together, customize it for you, and we'll do it quicker and at a lower price. And they go, really? And I said, well, yeah, because you have this, and this going for you. We don't need to reinvent that. We can build from there. And people go, oh my God, I never thought. My job is to customize so that I'm giving you the right solution. And that's why you shouldn't get objections too, right? Just because the marketing says one thing, when you're live with that client, you might be able to tweak your offer to make it even better for the client. That's our job, I believe, as business owners, salespeople, whatever framework you want to come from. So yeah, it's just humans. We're so interesting.
Agreed.
Right. Now, another business owner, right? Business owner, you get it. We have a bazillion things that are vying for our attention. So what or why should business owners use their limited time to build an email list and then write those weekly newsletters or other things that you kind of coach and recommend?
Yeah. So I think of course, I'm an email marketing specialist. I will scream about email marketing from the rooftops of any roof I can get myself on. But it really comes down to this. When we know that in order to be a successful business and business owner, it is really just moving people through those steps that we talked about, getting eyes and ears, getting them on our list, nurturing them, sorting out who's right for us, who's not, and then making that sale to those people that are right. There are, of course, a number of ways that we could approach that. So if I think back even to my own first year in the online business space, I tried all the things. I was doing the 30 reels in 30 days, and I was spending about an hour doing these reels that I would post up. And let me tell you, I got no clients from that. Okay, I was doing all the things that all of these people were saying. So that was number one. So if we think about why is email so important, I think it's important to look at what are the alternatives. So if we know that we need to get eyes and ears, we know that we need to move them through the system, what else could we do? We could do social media, which we know, preaching to the choir, I'm sure, the algorithms are always changing. On any given post, I looked at my stats before we jumped on this call too. On any given reel or social media post that I create, I get about a 9% of my audience viewing that particular piece of content. However, on the flip side, email marketing, average, depending on your industry, average is about a 40% open rate. My last email I sent was a 67% open rate, 67%. So if I go, can I spend an hour? Email's not going to take you that long, first of all, but can I spend a chunk of time creating an awesome piece of content that's going to get viewed by 9% of people or 40, 50, 60% of people? That's where I'm going to go. Okay. So it's going to beat the heck out of social media for a lot of reasons. It's more consistent. You're going direct to the person. It's not a guess as to who's going to see your stuff. You're sending it directly to them. The other alternative that I tried was I started going to all these networking events. I would attend in person. I would attend virtual networking events. that is a huge amount of time. If you're attending those events and then people are doing one-on-one chat, that's a huge amount of time. So for me, a single mom. I've been a single mom for 12 years. I'm also a homeschool mom. I have to be careful with, and yeah, there's a lot of things juggling. So I have to be careful with my time. And I had to, in my own business, figure out how I could go from 50-hour weeks to now I run a consistent 30-hour work week. And I knew that wasn't going to be happening with different things. So it really was the thing for me. I said, how can I make it most simple? How can I make it most effective? And that's where email marketing came in. And it was consistently the best sales I've seen through using that system.
It's fascinating because when I started in this digital realm, I hired a coach and Michael Neely, and he said the same thing. It really boils down to your email list and you have to nurture it and grow it and all of these things and run different campaigns. And I crack up because I have a weekly newsletter. So I have my shows. Obviously, I have the 2 shows. So they post that information. And then I start with my 4 sales tips. So recently, I don't know, through email or something, somebody responded, Con, love the 4 tips this week. I save your newsletters. So I responded, I go, why do you save my newsletters? And because it just struck me as an odd thing. And she said, oh, I go back and I look at the tips because sometimes I need a little inspiration. Can I responded, I said, do you realize you just made my day? And I'm smiling from ear to ear. You're keeping my newsletter. It's like, who does it? Because they're valuable information along with the shows, right? They're up to date, that new content. They know they're getting new content. And then I promote other giveaways or people who are giving free content, or if there's an opportunity, I have that in the newsletter. So they know it's like a one-stop shop, and anybody I promote, they know I vetted. So they know they're getting good stuff. All of that matters, but you have to nurture people to want to stick with you. That's what you're saying. And that's why the email why you get such good email open rates, because they're looking forward to your stuff versus, oh, who's this? What's this? Delete. They're looking for you and they're actually opening it. And then, right, in some cases, saving our newsletters because there's valuable content that maybe they could share or reflect upon later.
Yeah, I had a girl, speaking of that, I know her personally through business things. And she goes, I have an Amy folder. So she puts because she goes, even if I'm going to be too busy, I put them right into the folder so I can go back and read them later. But I think that speaks to the approach that we both take with our email. And I think it also speaks to a myth. The number one myth that I see, there's a handful. I think this one's up the top. One of the things that I see people coming to me saying is that I don't want to email all the time. I don't want to be spammy. When both of us have people saying, I'm looking forward to your emails, I'm looking forward to newsletters, I save them, it's because our approach is not only talking to these people when we want to make a sale. If we think about a friendship like that, if you go to your friend and the only time you're ever talking to them is, hey, can you help me clean out my garage? Or hey, can you help me to move over? Nobody's going to want to talk to you. But if you're showing up week over week, providing value, and then your signature offer is just an extension of that value that you're providing, people do look forward to it, and they start to trust you and they start to save your emails.
Well, and it's interesting because I remember I did a workshop and at the end I have my offer, right? And they all know. And I say right at the front, you stick to the end because I'm going to share with you other information, but also pay attention to how I ask for the business. That's another layer of learning, whether you want to buy today or not, just learn, right? You're going to learn from it. And I crack up because the people who sign up, I don't know them. And I say, oh, I'm curious, how'd you hear about me? Oh, I saw you speak at some summit or event, right? Whether it was live or virtual. I've been following your podcast. I read your newsletter. And then when you had the wet workshop, I thought, let me see what she's like live. And then at the end, they were like, it was like you were talking to me. Now, did that happen in that moment? No. They had built a relationship with me unbeknownst to me because, right, I try to put good stuff out there. But so when the opportunity came for them to work with me, I didn't have to solicit them. They showed up and they signed up and it was, happily ever after. So that's exactly what you're talking about. But the email list, I love my email list. And I really try to provide that good content because I want them to be eager to see my stuff, not, oh, her again, right? That icky kind of positioning. Do you have anything else? Because I have one more question and we're almost out of time.
Yeah, I would just say, touching upon that, what you talked about, but you didn't say directly, is that email is an asset. When we are creating, especially if we're not sending these, we can send, yes, these one-off weekly broadcasts, but when we're creating email sequences, you could build that out once. Every single person that's going to opt into your lead magnet, that's going to opt into everything, they're moving through this sequence. They're getting exposed to your podcast. They're getting exposed to your content without you doing a thing. So when we talk about it, is a 24/7 salesperson, your email marketing system that's working for you pretty much for free while you do everything else. There's not much else that's going to be like that.
Yeah, I love it. And if people get bored or I'm not relevant to them anymore, they unsubscribe. And I love when people write, "Oh, Con, I know who you are, and I'm following you on LinkedIn. I don't need the newsletter anymore." I giggle. I go, I'll send them an email saying, "Thank you so much for letting me know why you're unsubscribing." They don't have to do that, but like, how appreciative am I that they're giving me that feedback, not that I feel bad, because you shouldn't feel bad. If I'm not relevant, unsubscribe, it's all good, right? Here's my last question. So we're talking newsletters, right? These email sequencing. So people listening are saying, yeah, right. How can I fit in now writing a weekly newsletter? And number one, but what do I include? So how do you help your clients with that?
Yeah, I love that you asked that, because we talked about people sometimes are reluctant because they don't want to seem spammy or seem salesy. The other big objections that I do here are exactly what you talked about. It's, I don't know if I have the time and I don't know what to write. And it was because of hearing those questions over and over again. We create things in our own business based on need. So it was because of that my membership was born. So the membership, the Inbox Entrepreneur, the goal of it is to answer those two questions. It's that people don't know what to write. So it's like, okay, how can I put on my copywriting, marketing, and messaging and sales psychology hat to create 75% of the email for them already, and then create in brackets, here's where you're going to insert, a little bit about your client or their pain points. So that's going to take the time out of it. It's already built in there. It's also going to take the what the heck should I write, because the way that I craft them, it cycles through 12 different types of emails. So we're taking them through behind the scenes. So maybe this week is a behind the scenes email. Next week it's going to handle objection. Next week it's going to be a what I call story to a lesson. So let's talk about a story that happened in our life this week and segue into one of the lessons that's kind of the pivotal points within our brand. So all of that guesswork's taken out of it because the copy's written for you, the time aspect's taken out of it. So already when I was talking about the membership, I'm like, you are going to save a whole lot of time just using these templates alone. And very recently, I did a little hack on my own that actually makes it even easier, because I took one of my own templates and I'm like, let me pretend that I'm someone else. So I went to ChatGPT. If people are not using AI, I just listened to your podcast episode where you interviewed a man about all different AI aspects. I could not agree more. Lean into AI. So I went into my ChatGPT and I said, hypothetical situation. I am a guitar teacher teaching novice guitar players how to learn their first couple chords. Here's some information about me. Then I took my own template that I include in the membership and I said, take this template, anything that's in brackets, fill it in with something that's specific to this hypothetical guitar player. Anything that's not in brackets, leave it as is and spit me back the template based on what I did. It wrote the most perfect email. And it took me, 3 minutes? So before I was telling people, you can take my templates and get your email written in 20 minutes. Now I'm telling them, you can get it written in 3 minutes.
Yeah. And the one caveat, and I'm sure you recommend this too, read that email and then go back and now edit it with your voice, right? The ChatGPT gets pretty good at it, but you want to elevate yourself, right? From just the regular ChatGPT emails. So that's where you go in and you just make little tweaks. So spend 3 minutes plus another 5 minutes to make it really yours, something that you would say, right? Like somebody wrote an email for me and they put, hey, H-E-Y. And I said, oh, I would never say that. Never. I would say hi, hello, but never hey. Okay. And then at the end, cheers. And I go, oh, I don't think I'd ever say cheers. So again, make it yours. The ChatGPT is curating from a bunch of different things, and then they're pulling it together. So make sure that it's your voice, but I love it. And one last thing. So my VA, I asked her to set this up. I have a template for value statements so that when you're going to networking or with a client, you should have different value statements. And so we created our own link that it's set up behind the scenes using software. but it's an AI resource. So they answer my questions. It spits out the value statement. And then because that's what I hear too, is like, well, where do I begin? So this gets you started. And then all you have to do is really go in and tweak and make it a little bit more fun, right? Your own personality versus this chat GBT. So this AI is critical. I'm glad you mentioned that, but it should not replace our level of expertise. And that's what you're talking about. So I just want to make sure people understood that piece, right? Like your template is good. That's why when you put the chat GBT stuff in, it comes out even better. And now they could, in 5 minutes, go back and do those little tweaks. But it's because you have good stuff going in. I just wanted to make sure everybody understood that.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with that as well. That's definitely, I would never just take something that it sent and be like, go ahead. Because I've had the same experience where I find the one sometimes it'll come over like ultra formal, and that's not my vibe. I'm like, hello, I hope a pleasure to meet you. Like, I'm like, ugh, that's not how I speak. Like, no. But what I'm also trying to do to combat that, because again, like my whole seasoning on everything that I do in business is how can we make this more simple? Sure. Is I'm creating a chat now where I'm literally like taking the transcription of the podcast that I've done, taking the transcription of everything to see if I can get it to now start writing in my brand voice. That's right. The more we can feed into it to see how less editing I have to do when it takes my template and puts it in is something to consider too.
Yeah, and I want everybody hear Amy. She's using it and refining it and refining it and refining it. Plus her template is her expertise of years and years and years of dialing into what works. So that's why all of these tools and resources are great, but you have to have some expert who's kind of guiding you on how to overlay that AI and whatever that looks like, right? Overlay the AI, but on good content to begin, or good structure. More than content, it's more of the structure. So I just want to make sure, and then reiterate, uploading your transcripts and stuff. The AI is there to help us. So, the newsletter, if you were on a podcast, take some of that transcript and there becomes your blog post or a quick social media post, et cetera. So stop reinventing the wheel. I think we have to really think about working smarter versus harder. And that's everything that you've talked about in your Inbox Entrepreneur membership talks about. We're out of time, but here's the deal, guys. Please reach out to Amy if you have a specific question about something we talked about and you think, oh, what if or what about? Reach out to her. Her email is amy@amykufal.com. I will put that in the show notes. Check out her website, some cool things there, amykufal.com. Again, that will be in the show notes. And then you have a free gift to write better emails, right? I'll put that link. Just tell everybody what they get with that.
Yeah, so it's a mini course. So what they're going to get is they're going to come in, they're going to get one of the templates that I use that they can implement. They fill it out, they implement it, they can send it to their list this week. They're also going to get the number one thing that I add to every single one of my emails that's going to help them be able to make sales on any email that they send, as well as that mini course teaches them the one tool that I use to make my own writing more clear and more concise. And it's not ChatGPT.
I love it. Oh my gosh, that's great. I'm going to sign up. I'm going to get it. See, everybody, I use these tools too that my guests come on. I learn from them through these conversations, or they spark something like, oh, you used to do that. You stopped. Why, Connie? Go back and do it again. Right. It's all of these habits that we have to constantly reiterate and up our game. We got to be in it to win it. No pun intended there, but we do. We have to be in it to win it. Amy, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your zone of genius. Marketing and sales, two very different things. We're married, sister. But where you come in, you bring to the table, then I come after that to help the closing ratios and all those things. So we are married, we are needed, and I really love learning from people like you. So thank you so much. I am going to use your resource because it makes me better as well. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a fun time.
Oh, totally. You're totally engaging and fun and just awesome conversation. And go play with your daughter when we're done. But
absolutely.
You're so cute. All right. So you guys, I hope you will join me weekly as we question, build, and discover together, no matter where you are on changing, right? Whatever that means to you, changing career, changing businesses, changing your sales game. You know that my guests and I are here to support you and help you and hopefully provide relevant information and content that you can use immediately. Here's the deal. And Amy, I say this at the end of every show. They're all like, Connie, stop. But I am not going to, because it's an important message. Information's a beautiful thing. If you do nothing with it, it's just information in your brain. As soon as you start applying it and put it into practice, the reaction is remarkable and magic happens in our life and business. So what is your call to action today? Download Amy's free gift, use it, try it for yourself. You will get on, oh, by the way, her email list so that she can continue to share content and information with you. And then if you want to join her membership, that would be the next step. So again, we've set the path for you. Try her out, test her out. That's what the email and these gifts are all about. So again, that's your call to action. Amy, thank you for being on and sharing your zone of genius with everybody. And I truly am impressed by what you're doing and the information that you shared. Keep it simple, man, because we've got a lot to do out there and our kids should not be put off on Thursday at 3:00. That story was heart-wrenching. So thank you for being vulnerable with me and my listeners. I so appreciate that. And thank you for joining us. You've been listening to Enlightenment of Change with me, your host, Connie Whitman, on webtalkradio.com. I am inspired to have you on this journey of change with me, and I truly am honored that you tune in every week to hear my guests and I in our exchange and conversation, and hopefully that it makes relevant content for you to apply in your life. I love you all. I will see you next week. Have a great one, everybody. Until next time.